Hi, you're watching Reddit Confessions, where secrets speak louder than silence. He tapped his glass with a fork like he owned the air around him. Everyone stopped talking. Laughter froze mid-breath. Even Dana turned, eyes locked on him like gravity itself had shifted toward his voice. We were at her company's rooftop party. Golden lights tangled in string across the city skyline, fake ferns in rented pots, and a jazz playlist no one actually listened to. She had just received some promotion, something regional, something important. I didn't catch the title. I was too busy figuring out where I fit between her life and the edge of that rooftop. Then Milo raised his glass. To Dana, he said, the heartbeat of this company. And, let's be honest, the reason most of us don't call in sick anymore. The laughter that followed was too loud, too knowing. I smiled because I'm good at that. That's what you do when your stomach twists but you don't want to ruin the evening. You smile like it's all fine. Like your wife's coworker isn't staring at her with a look that belongs to a man who's seen more than spreadsheets. Dana didn't look at me. She didn't need to. Her smile said everything. Polished, pretty, practiced. I counted seconds until the toast ended. Milo found me later, near the drink table. He poured something dark into a plastic cup and asked, "So, what's it like being married to a woman everyone admires?" I tried to laugh. "Proud, I guess." He nodded like I passed some quiz. "You're a chill guy. That's good. Some men get weirdly territorial." Then he walked away, just like that, left me standing there like I was the guest at someone else's wedding. I didn't want to spiral. I didn't want to be that guy, the insecure husband, the overthinker. But then I remembered how Dana touched his shoulder when she laughed. How he leaned in when she whispered something. How she hadn't even introduced me to most of the people there. I felt like a footnote, a punchline to a joke I didn't understand. When we got home, she went straight to bed. I stayed in the kitchen. I stared at my reflection in the microwave door until the screen faded to black. And that was the moment I knew something broke tonight. Not loudly, not publicly, but quietly, like a glass cracked under pressure, waiting for the next touch to shatter it completely. The next morning, Dana hummed in the kitchen like nothing had happened. She poured coffee, checked her phone, then gave me a quick kiss on the cheek, like I was some polite roommate she had known for too long. I wanted to ask her about Milo, about the toast, about how his hand found her waist like it had done it before. But I didn't. Instead, I nodded, sipped my coffee, and wondered if I was losing my mind or my marriage. Later that afternoon, I found myself staring at her company's event photos on social media. Not just the ones Dana had posted, those were filtered and safe. No, I went digging. Her coworkers had tagged her in some candids. That's where I saw it. A moment not meant for me. Milo standing too close again. Her head tilted back laughing, his hand resting on the back of her chair. And then one picture. God help me. One picture where her hand was brushing against his chest. Not holding, not grabbing, but there. Comfortable. Familiar. The way you touch someone when you've forgotten who might be watching. I sat on our couch, holding my phone like it might bite. My thoughts raced. Was I overreacting? Was I becoming that jealous, insecure man? But then I remembered Milo's smug smile when he spoke to me. The way he looked at Dana like she was already his. That wasn't imagination. That was intention. That night I confronted her. Nothing dramatic. I didn't yell. I didn't accuse. I just asked, "Are you and Milo close?" Her reaction wasn't what I expected. She froze, just for a second, then laughed too quickly. "Close? Don't be silly, Cal. He's just flirty with everyone. It's harmless." "Is it?" I asked quieter than I meant to. She sighed. The way someone sighs when they're trying to be patient but can't hide the irritation bleeding through. "I work with him. He's part of my team. If you're going to be weird about it, maybe it's better you don't come to these events." That sentence hit harder than she realized. Or maybe she did realize. She didn't apologize. She didn't try to reassure me. She shifted the blame onto me like I was the problem. Like I was the one misbehaving. And for a moment I almost believed her. That's what happens when you're the quiet one in the relationship. You start thinking maybe your discomfort is something to fix, not something to trust. But that night I didn't sleep. I lay there beside her, listening to her soft breathing, wondering if I was the only one in our bed who felt alone. And in the morning, before she woke up, I did something I hadn't done before. I messaged someone from her work. I don't know what I expected when I messaged Jenna. She was one of Dana's coworkers, someone I'd met briefly at a holiday mixer 2 years ago. She was polite, the kind of person who always looked like she was hiding a real opinion behind a neutral smile. I figured if anyone knew the truth, and was just uncomfortable enough with it to speak up, it might be her. I didn't ask anything too direct. Just something harmless, something I could write off if she showed Dana the message. I asked how the party was from her point of view, and whether Milo was always so forward with everyone. Her reply came 6 hours later, in the middle of the night. Hey, not sure what to say here. I like Dana, I really do. But yeah, Milo is, well, let's just say you're not crazy. A few of us have noticed things. Nothing public. Nothing that would get him in trouble. But it's there. The closeness. The looks. He doesn't act that way with everyone. Just her. My hands went cold reading it. You know that feeling when confirmation feels worse than suspicion? That was it. I wasn't losing it. I wasn't inventing stories in my head. Someone else saw it too. And yet, there was no comfort in being right. Just a deeper kind of dread. Like now I had to do something about it. The next few days were a blur. Dana was busy. Meetings, calls, late nights, catching up on reports. I stopped asking questions. I watched instead. Observed. Her phone was always face down now. Her laptop snapped shut the moment I walked into the room. She started showering at night, something she hadn't done in years. And she stopped initiating anything physical. Claimed she was tired. Claimed she was stressed. But stress doesn't explain perfume you don't own or the faint scent of mint gum when she kisses your cheek goodbye at 9 p.m. On a Tuesday, one night, I picked her up from her office without warning. I told her I missed her and thought we could grab dinner. She was visibly startled to see me waiting outside the building. She said she had to grab something from her desk. I offered to come up. She refused. Said it was a mess. Told me to wait in the car. I didn't. I followed her. Not inside, just enough to catch a glimpse. Through the glass lobby doors, I saw her in the hallway. Alone? No, she wasn't alone. Milo was there too, standing way too close again. She was laughing, tucking her hair behind her ear. That same flirty gesture she used on me when we first met. He leaned in, whispered something, and she didn't move away. Instead, she smiled, closed-lipped, almost guilty. Then she reached out and touched his arm. That was it. That was the moment something in me collapsed. Quietly, without a sound. I didn't confront her that night. Couldn't. I was too numb. Too full of questions and self-loathing and shame. I drove us home. I smiled when she asked if I was okay. I kissed her on the forehead and told her I was just tired. But inside I was beginning to plan. I didn't sleep that night. I lay there staring at the ceiling while Dana breathed softly beside me. Her back turned, like always now. My mind was a carousel of images. His hand on her arm, her smile. The way she looked at him like he was some secret she wasn't ready to share. Something had shifted. Not just between them, between us. I felt like a prop, a placeholder in my own marriage. And still, I hadn't done a single thing about it. No confrontation. No demands. Just silence. The kind of silence that wraps itself around your ribs and squeezes until you forget what breathing used to feel like. The next morning, Dana was rushing out the door for a strategy breakfast with her team. She kissed my cheek and asked me to grab her keys from her purse while she finished brushing her hair. I hesitated. I never touched her bag. That was one of those unspoken rules between us. But something in me, maybe desperation, maybe exhaustion, ignored the rules this time. The keys were there. So was something else. An envelope. Not sealed. No markings. Just tucked inside. Like it didn't want to be found but wasn't exactly hiding either. I slid it out, heart pounding like I was committing a crime. Inside was a handwritten note. Not from me. I never wrote notes. Dana always said I wasn't the romantic type, but whoever wrote this one was. Last night was worth every risk. Can't stop thinking about you. Next time, maybe a real hotel. M. I stood there, frozen. The walls around me didn't fall, they just stopped meaning anything. The photos on the fridge, the calendar marked with our anniversary, the stupid his and hers mugs we never used. All of it turned to static. Dana came down the stairs smiling, asking if I found the keys. I said I did. I handed them to her, said nothing about the note. Just watched her take them. Watched her walk out the door like she hadn't just unknowingly set fire to the last thread holding us together. I didn't follow her. I didn't call her. I sat down on the edge of our bed, holding that note like it was a dead bird in my hands. I didn't even cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. Instead, I felt this strange kind of calm. Cold. Mechanical. Like my brain was detaching, preparing me for whatever came next. I scanned it again. Next time. That meant there had already been a first time. Worth every risk. That meant she knew it was a betrayal. Knew what she was doing. And did it anyway. I slipped the note back where I found it. Not because I wanted to protect her, but because I wanted to watch. I wanted to see how long it would take her to either confess or destroy herself trying to hide it. By the end of that day, I had installed a keylogger on our shared desktop, bought a burner phone, and made a second copy of the house key, which I left in the glove box of my car, just in case I ever needed to come back without knocking. I wasn't just the quiet husband anymore. I was becoming the man she didn't know how to lie to. For the next week, I became someone I barely recognized. Every time Dana left the house, I took photos of where her car was parked using her shared location. I took notes, dates, times, places, people. I watched her, not because I wanted to catch her in the act, but because I already knew she was guilty. I just didn't know how far it went. And I needed to know. I needed to stop living in half-truths and start building a full picture. Even if that picture shattered me. The keylogger paid off first. On the third day, while she was at work, I opened the file and scrolled through her emails. Most were about budgets and planning sessions. But then there it was, an unsent draft saved automatically. It was short. Still thinking about that elevator moment. You smell like a terrible idea. I want more of it. I stared at the screen like it might laugh at me. An elevator moment? My wife, who used to blush when I kissed her forehead in public, was now writing poetry to someone else about enclosed spaces and forbidden impulses. But it wasn't the words that destroyed me. It was what came next. She had saved an audio file to her cloud account. Not shared with me. Buried deep in a folder marked Q1 pitch decks. I only found it because I searched by recent activity. When I clicked on it, I felt like I was stepping off a cliff. The recording started with laughter. Her laugh. And Milo's voice, low and smug. He said, "If he ever finds out, what would you even say?" Dana giggled like a teenager breaking curfew, and replied, "I'd probably cry. Say it was a mistake. Then distract him with something shiny." He laughed and added, "You're scary when you're honest." And then came the worst part. She said, "He still thinks I'm just working late. Can you believe that? After all this time?" The recording cut off. I sat in that silence, headphones pressed against my ears, stomach turning. The woman I shared a bed with, who kissed me goodbye, who called me babe while passing the salt shaker, had rehearsed lies like lines in a play, and I had bought every one of them. I didn't even know what hurt more, her betrayal, or how effortlessly she covered it with a smile. When she came home that evening, I tried to look normal. I tried to smile. But she noticed. She always notices. She asked me if I was okay. I told her I was tired. She nodded, then kissed my forehead, like I was the child she pitied, and said she'd be in the bath. While the water ran upstairs, I sat alone in the kitchen, phone still in my hand, recording still fresh in my ears. That's when I realized something that scared me more than anything. I didn't want to save this marriage anymore. I wanted to end it right. Not with a fight. Not with screaming. But with a silence so devastating it would echo louder than any accusation ever could. 2 days after hearing the recording, Dana suggested we go out to dinner. She said she wanted to reconnect, like we were just two friends who hadn't caught up in a while, not a married couple whose foundation was quietly caving in beneath them. I said yes. I even smiled when I said it, and I watched her closely, watched how relieved she looked that I agreed. How quickly she jumped into planning the reservation like that erased the things she'd said into a microphone when she thought no one was listening. She wore the same dress she wore to that rooftop party. I don't know if she realized it, or if it was a message. Either way, it was a choice that twisted something in my chest. I drove us to the restaurant. I even played the old playlist we used to listen to on road trips, back when her laugh wasn't filtered through guilt. Dinner was at a quiet Italian place tucked in a corner of downtown. Candles on the tables. Soft music. A little too intimate for two people who hadn't touched each other in over a week. We made small talk. Weather. Work. Vacations we never took. I watched her twirl pasta while pretending not to look at her phone every few minutes. I knew who she was waiting on. I knew the pattern now, the texting before late meetings, the sudden shift in her mood when Milo replied. It was like watching a show I used to love but now knew every fake twist and recycled line. Halfway through the meal, I excused myself to the restroom. But I didn't go there. I went outside. I needed air. Or maybe I just needed to stand under the sky and remind myself that the world was still turning even as mine was rotting from the inside. I leaned against the building and pulled out my phone. The burner one. I opened the app I'd installed, the one that mirrored her texts from our shared desktop. It buzzed softly. One new message. From him. You're beautiful tonight. I wish it were me across from you. And then, did you tell him anything? I stood there, staring at the screen, while her laughter echoed faintly through the window behind me. That was it. I didn't need more proof. I didn't need to catch them in a hotel or hear another recording. The truth was no longer hiding. It was sitting on my phone, bold as a neon sign, spelling out the end of everything I thought I understood. I went back inside. She smiled when I sat down. I smiled too. I even reached across the table and touched her hand. She flinched a little. Guilt always twitches when it's touched too gently. She didn't know I'd seen the messages. Didn't know I'd already planned the next step. When dessert came, I excused myself again. This time, I did go to the restroom. I left my phone on the table by mistake. She picked it up while I was gone. I know because when I came back it was face down, and she looked pale. Not panicked. Just rattled. Like a tightrope walker who suddenly noticed there's no net below. She asked if I was okay again. I told her, I'm getting there. And I meant it, because I knew what I was going to do next. I wasn't going to confront her with rage. I was going to vanish. So quietly, so methodically, that when she turned to explain herself, there'd be no one left to lie to. The thing they don't tell you about betrayal is that it doesn't shatter you all at once. Peels you apart in layers. It's not one scream. It's 1,000 quiet realizations that hit when you're brushing your teeth, when you're pouring coffee, when you hear her laugh from another room and know it's no longer meant for you. But at some point, the pain fades into something sharper, something cleaner. And for me, that turned into resolve. The next morning, I started the process. I opened a new bank account in a different city under a name variation I'd never used before, Cal J. Madison instead of Calvin J. Madison. I knew she'd never think to look for that. I transferred a portion of my paycheck. Just enough to start fresh, not enough to raise alarms. I backed up every file, every photo, every recording and message from the last 3 weeks onto a secure drive. I contacted a lawyer under a pseudonym and paid in cash for a consultation. No calls, no emails. Just a quiet 30-minute meeting where I handed over a printed dossier and asked a simple question. If I disappear, how clean can I make it? He didn't blink. Divorce lawyers see everything. Then I started packing, but not in boxes, in plans. I mapped out where I'd go first, which city, which friend I hadn't spoken to in years but still owed me a favor. I rehearsed explanations for my employer, made sure they'd support a transfer without needing a reason. I waited. I timed everything with precision. Because if there's one thing you learn as the quiet one, it's how to observe before you strike. 3 days later, Dana left for another overnight strategy session. This time, she didn't even bother to fake stress. She wore perfume, red lipstick. She packed a silk blouse I hadn't seen in months. She kissed me on the forehead again, this time with pity, not love, and said, "Don't wait up, babe." I didn't. The moment she left, I started my clock. I gave myself 8 hours. I packed essentials into a duffel bag, took the spare passport I kept hidden in a book safe, deleted the burner phone's contents, and wiped our shared desktop of every trace of my activity. I removed myself from every shared account, banking, utilities, calendars. I left only one thing behind, an envelope, just like the one I'd found in her purse. Only mine was addressed to her. Inside was a printed copy of her messages, the recording, and a photo of the two of them from the party, the one where his hand was clearly on her thigh. No words, no signature, just evidence. And then I walked out the door. I didn't slam it. I didn't cry. I didn't even look back. I just got in the car, turned the ignition, and drove. No destination, no confrontation, just freedom. And as I watched the city shrink in my rearview mirror, I realized I didn't need an apology. I didn't need closure. I needed peace. And for the first time in months, I had it. Or so I thought. I expected the silence to haunt me. I expected regret to sneak in, to whisper late at night that I'd made a mistake by leaving without a word. But something strange happened instead. Peace. Real, uncluttered, unapologetic peace. The kind you only feel when you're no longer living inside someone else's illusion. I spent the first few days in a small town no one would think to search, renting a room above a bookstore where the owner didn't ask questions and the bed squeaked every time I shifted. But it was mine. I wasn't hiding. I was healing. A week later, my lawyer contacted me through the secure line we'd arranged. Dana had received the envelope. She hadn't tried to call. No emails. No threats. Just a single, official response through her attorney. She would not contest the divorce. No demands. No apologies. Just legal silence. That told me more than any screaming match ever could. She knew. She knew she had lost something she'd never value until it was already gone. In the weeks that followed, I began rebuilding. Not the life I had before, but something new. I transferred to a remote division at work. I started journaling. I went on walks without checking my phone. I slept without waking up to the ache of suspicion. And one morning, while sipping bitter coffee on a sun-drenched porch, I realized I hadn't thought about Milo in days. His smug face, his whispered comments, the way he looked at her like I was already gone. It all felt like a bad scene from someone else's movie, because I wasn't in that story anymore. And Dana? I don't know where she is now. I don't check. That part of my life is sealed. Not with bitterness, but with finality. Some people carve holes in you and call it love. But real love doesn't hollow you out. It sees you, holds you, chooses you every day. I'm not angry anymore. I'm awake. And if you're watching this, stuck in that gray space between denial and truth, let me tell you, peace isn't a door someone opens for you. It's one you walk through alone. I did, and it saved me. Thanks for staying with me through this journey here on Reddit Confessions. If you've ever lived through a betrayal or quietly stepped out of someone else's chaos, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us about a historical moment that inspired you to take back your power, big or small. Whether it was a silent protest, a turning point, or just the day you said, "No more," share it. And don't forget to subscribe for more real stories that cut deep and end with strength.